Hey there, everyone. Florida Man here. Sorry for the lighting. The power just went out. Better now or before I started the video than during the video. It's gonna be a bit of a ramble video for it's for the algorithm and for any of those interested in just kind of listen to what I've been thinking about most lately. So I'm out of Venezia. I'm in another city. I have myself right here, Piana Vishnia. If you know what a Piana Vishnia is, and you know what city is famous for Piana Vishnia, then you probably know what city I'm in. Well, besides that, I'm having a good trip so far. Good trip with bad times. Today's Friday. Thanksgiving was yesterday. Thanksgiving was not a good day for Ukraine. We had a lot of bombings in the morning. A lot of places lost power. We have a new power schedule all across Ukraine pretty much. And yeah, I can't say too much right now because I want to say stuff later. But yeah, it sucked. It sucked. So, what's this video about? So I'm almost told the city. Sorry guys, it's only my second Piana Vishna for the day. But talk to you guys about vision, the importance of vision, having vision. What is vision? Uh, Gosh, it's going to be a big ramble. I've been thinking about it for the past 2-3 hours today. It's nice. I had my meetings today. I got to get some good people, got to talk to some good people, met some new people, and good things are going to happen. And that's where the idea of vision came in. Coming to Ukraine, the importance of vision, having an idea. Uh, so this is more for younger people, honestly. I think older people kind of agree with me. This is for people in their 20s, because honestly, most of the time, I think in our 20s, we don't have vision yet, or we don't have a real set goal. That was me in my 20s. I had some ideas, and I think that's what kind of like life is growing up is developing a vision. So it's hard to find a starting point for this video about vision. So let's talk about maybe me coming to Ukraine, the importance of vision, importance of how it drives us. Coming to Ukraine, I had a lot of different ideas what I would be doing when I came to Ukraine, or why would I come to Ukraine. On one hand, coming to Ukraine to me, there was a vision that there was just an important moment in history, and I had no reason not to be a part of it. I couldn't have a good excuse not to be a part of that reason of this dramatic moment in world history. And I had a lot of visions about what I was going to do in Ukraine before I could go to Ukraine. So I could not go to Ukraine at the start. I could have, but I made the decision not to because I made the decision that I had to finish out taking care of my mother at that time. And, as I said in another video, she had ALS. She was terminally ill. And so me deciding not to go to Ukraine, I would feel horribly guilty leaving my mom with the last idea that, her only son would go to a war zone and that, she would die with me in some dangerous place. I would feel very guilty about kind of leaving that idea in her last thoughts. So, she knew I was interested in Ukraine. I told her I was going to help Ukraine, but, at the end, I never told her I was going to go to Ukraine. But I had the vision. I most definitely had the vision of going to Ukraine. And that vision stuck with me the entire time I was in the US. And that's what kept me kind of studying Ukrainian. And then I kind of followed through with it, to follow through with the vision. But that's the crazy thing too, the vision. I had no idea what I was going to do when I was in Ukraine. I had no technical skills, for a war zone type operation. No experience of NGOs. No combat experience. Oh God, no. Medical experience. I thought I was going to do something medical for quite some time. Taking care of someone terminally ill. I can change a trach like no one else. I've changed so many fucking trachs. Cleaning wounds, cleaning other things. I've been told many times that I have a steady hand when it comes to dealing with very bloody and not so pleasant looking things. So I thought, hey, I have a knack for it. Maybe I'd go up and maybe join the hospitality battalion. And yeah, maybe if my mom passed away right before the war and I was about to begin my Euro trip and the war kicked off, I would have gone on over and I joined like the hospitality battalion, or I'd try to find some sort of medical work. And I just tell them, hey, I had a lot of experience dealing with a sick person. I'm a fast learner. Maybe they would have taken me, maybe they wouldn't have, but you know, maybe I'd be dead by now. So I try not to think too much. There's like a very self-conscious or very egotistical side of me that was very upset that I didn't get to get in the action at the start of the war. You know, when it's kind of like really wild, and you can just show up and you can start just doing random stuff, and you know, it was far more dangerous, far more risk taking. But yeah, that unfortunately to my personality, I think I probably would have taken up a couple of things that probably would have ended me up not being here right now. But that's all speculation. I have no fucking idea. But back to vision, going about vision, talking about the importance of vision. That vision of me going to Ukraine, I kept that vision with me for over a year because, like I said, the war started and it was pretty much immediate. I knew I was going to go to Ukraine. I was like, all right, I'm going to Ukraine. I'm going to help. And just that idea alone kept me going through, and it kind of gave me some purpose. And you know, I don't know, like this is going to be a real philosophical ramble, man. Oh my gosh, because to me, like, I need vision. My life without vision is meaningless. You know, that was like a big problem for me when I was taking care of my mom. Sorry guys, like I said, this is going to be one really big ramble. You know, before my mom got sick, I had a vision. I was going to go to Eastern Europe, or not Eastern Asia, with my fiance at the time. We were going to teach English. I was going to do some computer program. I was learning how to do C# so I can do video game design. I had some video games ideas in mind. I had so many game ideas, universes in my head. I had so many ideas, and I was like, all right, yeah, you just, you know, teach English on the side so I can focus on programming, being hilarious, get to see the world. That was my vision at the time. And then my mom got sick, and you know, I felt a responsibility to go back home and help take care of her. Obviously that wasn't a vision, you know, that was a duty. You know, it's like, you have to do this, and so you're going to do this. And so I had to put aside my own visions. I tried programming, I tried making stuff on my own when I was taking care of her. But the problem is, if anyone has any experience programming, man, you know, when you sit down to program, and you know, it's like writing a novel, but you need to constantly go back through all the pages to make sure everything's in continuity. It's a pain in the ass if you have to get up every 15 minutes to do something, and then you come back down, you're like, all right, where was I again? And so I hate to say, eventually I gave up on it. You know, I don't think I'll ever get back to it, which is a real problem. And I could have done better in my earlier 20s, but I didn't have the motivation or drive or focus. And I think that's the big thing now with my older age. I've developed, is with the vision, is developing that focus, that determination to follow through. And you know, taking care of my mom, you know, wasn't my vision, but I made it a determination. You know, I was going to follow through with it, and I was going to be there for her till the end. And there were many times I did not want to be there, but yeah, I followed through with it. But yeah, no, when the war started, the vision of Ukraine, me going to Ukraine, me helping Ukraine, I had so many different ideas of what I could do in Ukraine, possibilities. And this is for young people. This, like I said, this is primarily for young people. You have a lot of visions, but like, they're all over the place. You have visions about things that you have no experience in. That's the important thing. When you have visions about things you have no experience in. And yeah, Ukraine, I had no experience in Ukraine. I watched a lot of Brandon's videos, and I was like, oh, I would love to do something like Brandon does, you know? Go around Ukraine, be a trustworthy guy who can get the right resources to the right place and ensure the right people get what they need. Honestly, that's pretty much what war is. It's getting the right resources to the right places. That's, you know, that's it. Making sure the right people have the right things that they need. And I would have loved to have been one of those people. And so the vision of that too was, you know, of course, being able to communicate with people. So one thing I did, which I think was my biggest boon when I came to Ukraine, I found my biggest asset: no technical skill, no experience, no combat experience, or nothing. Like my biggest boon in Ukraine was having a grasp of the language. I find that so many volunteers do not have a grasp of the language, and it's mind-blowing. People that have been here for over 2 years. Big Mac, oh yeah. So, grasp of the language. that's been my biggest asset here. And I would not have had it if I didn't have the vision when I first knew that I was going to go to Ukraine, that I needed to understand the language. Now, of course, did I perfectly understand the language? Did I have moments where I lost motivation? Oh, definitely. You know, being a caregiver, you have a lot of emotional swings and mood swings, and that's a whole other episode. But yeah, I knew I was going to Ukraine. I had the vision, and I knew what could I do right now to help me when I'm in Ukraine, and that was learn the language. But of course, in Ukraine, how many people actually speak pure Ukrainian? And then also just, you know, from my previous experience learning languages when I learned Chinese, I spent 2 years in college learning Chinese. And very much the first day I arrived in Beijing and I needed to tell the taxi driver, I didn't say that. I had no idea how to say that. And he had no idea where I was going to go. And literally, I spent 2 years in Ukraine, or not 2 years studying Chinese, and I couldn't tell this guy that I wanted to go to this university. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I spend 2 years studying? So I understood my 1 year before Ukraine, studying Ukrainian probably wasn't going to work too well. But the biggest asset is Ukraine is a heavy grammar structure. It's very heavy on grammar. And so having a grasp on the idea of case systems, understanding you know, with words come sexes and how those sexes change words. And especially when you add cases on top of that, you need a big matrix sheet. So kind of just picking Ukrainian up on the fly can definitely be a challenge. And then of course you add Surjek into that mix. And of course, you know, like I say, the biggest thing was me learning how to read before I got here. Reading was really good. Me being able to start reading just anything, just reading and pronouncing it correctly. That was really good. But yeah, vision. And so having the vision, it's not going to be right at first. I remember once my mom passed away, literally the day she passed away, I was in game mode. I was like, all right, what am I doing next? And I started working through all the list of things I needed to do to get to Ukraine. I needed to spend like another 2 or 3 months in the US because my dad needed knee surgery and he was putting that off because he didn't want to try to get knee surgery while he was taking care of mom too. So I was like, all right, spend 3 months taking care of dad, do this, do that, get the van set up, get the van ready to go over to Belgium so then I could take it to Ukraine. Start messaging people, start asking about what can I do there. And I had so many ideas. I remember when I first got started, I was like, you know what, if I'm going to Ukraine, why go to Ukraine with an empty van? Let's bring a bunch of stuff over. And so I was reaching out to all these people in the US like, yeah, let's send a cargo container with, you know, humanitarian supplies over. I had such big visions. And then I was getting stressed. I was getting stressed before I even fucking got here. I was getting stressed about all like, oh my God, I need to do this. I need to do that. I have such a small time scale. The vision was so big and I wanted to do so much. And luckily at that time, after bartending, I quit bartending because I got bored of it and I was kind of having like another midlife crisis. Like, oh God, I'm just going to be a bartender for the rest of my life. I want to do something more interesting. Quit that, ended up working at a piano shop. The piano shop was run by a guy who ran it out of, like, it's just generations of piano technician guys. And he ended up opening up his own little piano repair shop in a garage. And this is related to vision, directly related to vision. He started in a garage in his mid-20s. He just get pianos and he just knew him because his family did, you know, piano business. And then he went from garage to a small store to a bigger store. And now this guy has a fucking warehouse. When I was working on pianos with him, I moved pianos with him and he started teaching me how to do making soundboards for pianos. And then we started working on repairing. And also that's like woodworking. If you ever see me do any woodworking in my other videos, I did not get that confidence to do woodworking unless I worked at that piano store of all the wood I got to work with. Yeah, awesome guy. But that guy had a vision. That guy had a vision. He had a vision for a store. He had a vision for everything. And he eventually, you know, the vision started small and it needs to grow. And that's one of the first things I want to tell people. If you're younger and you have big vision, you have big ideas, start small. And that sounds like old man talking down to young kids. Honestly, your visions you're gonna choke on your visions most of the time. Start small. And I came with video game design too. I always had big video game ideas. I'm gonna do all this cool stuff. But every time I watch anyone's video about video game design, making games, they tell me start small. Always start small. Start with some small stuff. And then once you develop the skills, once you develop the knowledge based around this, then you can get bigger and bigger and do bigger and bigger. So yeah, when I first wanted to go to Ukraine, I was like, look, I'm going to Ukraine with an empty van. Why go with an empty van? Let's bring a bunch of cool stuff with me. Let's see if I can get a bunch of people all across South Florida. So I try to reach out to people, let them know, like, hey, I'm going to Ukraine. Let's see if we can get a container's worth of humanitarian goods. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what they need. And see, this is now like my time in Ukraine. I'm like, oh my God, Ben. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what supplies you needed. You don't know the paperwork that you needed to do that. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. So vision, the scale of vision, and I remember I noticed you know, being a caregiver for a while, I noticed my stress markers. I noticed when I'm stressed by certain body activities, and one of them was like a fidget in my arm, like my forearms will start fidgeting. And I started noticing, I was just driving around, you know, just doing regular stuff, you know, living my life, figuring things out, doing random stuff. And then just at a stoplight, my fucking forearm would just start fidgeting. And I was like, oh man, I'm stressed. Why am I stressed? Why am I stressed? And I'm not even in Ukraine yet. I was like, dude, you're gonna kill yourself. You're not even there yet, and you're already stressing yourself out. You're gonna burn yourself out. So I was like, all right, you know, scale it back. Don't plan out every day till you go to Ukraine. Get some basic ideas. And so I scaled a lot of stuff back. And I was like, all right, Ben, what's your goal now? What's your goal? What's your goal besides trying to get a bunch of random people and all these different institutions together to help you out to do this stuff on your first initial run? It's like, all right, just get the van over, get the van outfitted, get it ready to go, get it over there, get to Poland, meet my old tutor, at least have one of my contacts ready in Ukraine. And that was nice. That was nice. And sometimes, like, honestly, guys, you just got to go into the fog blind. Going into Ukraine, I went into Ukraine with no set concrete plan. And that was the crazy thing. That was like the most crazy part about me at the beginning, was going into Ukraine with no concrete plan. Before I went into Ukraine, I had a Ukrainian teacher, of course. And so I reached out to her once I knew I was going to Ukraine. I had the tickets. I knew I was going to be in Ukraine around this time period. I said, hey, can I talk to someone? Do you have any contacts for me to talk about doing volunteer stuff in Ukraine? And she did. And I got to speak to that woman. And that woman told me, don't come to Ukraine. She said, it's stressful. It's scary. Don't come here. There's air alarms. I said, all right, thank you very much. I'm going to Ukraine, though. So we became Facebook friends, whatever. But the thing is, though, once she saw me outfitting my van, working on my van, turning it into an express loadout, getting it ready to move humanitarian goods, you know, I started seeing her liking my post. She started seeing, you know, I'm moving my van over. I'm in Belgium now. I'm in Poland now. And then once she saw I was in Ukraine, she messaged me. She said, hey, you're in Ukraine. Come on over. Let's talk. So I went over, and I was in Zakarpattia for 2 weeks, and we talked, and she had a lot of great experience. She was a long-term volunteer in Ukraine. She did a lot of stuff. She did a lot of good stuff, but now she has 2 kids, and she's taking care of them in Zakarpattia. So we talked, I chilled. I literally drank wine and chilled with her for 2 weeks. A bit too much for me, honestly. I was in a foreign country. It was like a whole weird world for me. That was a proper Florida man story there. You know, buying like porch wine from old grannies, sitting around, drinking wine, talking to her, picking up Surgic. But eventually, this is during the counteroffensive, she had so many contacts. She had contacts all over the place. We ended up doing a humanitarian run to Zaporizhia. And I was like, great, we're going to do this humanitarian run. And by humanitarian, I don't mean to like, so we're driving shit for the military. She said, yeah, we have a request. They want 500 t-shirts. We're going to load up 500 t-shirts. We're going to load up a bunch of food, all this cool stuff. We're going to send all this to multiple guys. I was like, great. And I was following along all this stuff. There's a whole story to that. That's a whole side story. I don't want to get too much into it. But, you know, this was my vision. I was like, cool, I'm going to use my van to do humanitarian runs in Ukraine. I love this. This is what I came to Ukraine to do. I loved driving at the time. I loved driving around the U.S., listening to podcasts and stuff. But, so we did the run, and we went from Zakarpattia to Vinnytsia, and that's how I got introduced to Vinnytsia, and that's how that was like the starting point of Vinnytsia becoming my hometown. That was an 8-hour drive. All right, I'm used to 8-hour drive, South Florida to North Georgia. Okay. And then we went from Vinnytsia to Zaporizhia, the city. That was another 8-hour drive. And oh my God, I'm fucking sick and tired of sunflower fields. I've never seen so many sunflower fields before in my life. And the roads, I mean, the roads are shit. I mean, that's a given. That's Ukraine. But I was tired. I was like, dude, this is just repetitive, same thing, sunflower field after sunflower field. And that idea of me doing humanitarian runs, of just me, I was like, dude, I do not want to do another 8-hour drive again. And I can do it if I have to, but do I want to? And that was another part of the story too, is like during that whole run, we loaded up a lot of food items. We had some care packages. We loaded up staples. That's how I met the Forge, because they saw me do that humanitarian run and they invited me to their Forge afterwards. But everything I transported was like, all right, this is cool stuff, but this isn't like, I'm not carrying like, drones on hand. I'm not carrying like vital equipment. The value of everything in my van was not worth more than my van. And I was like, all right, cool. We did the run. It was good. I got to meet a bunch of cool people. It was safe where I was, in the city. Zaporizhia, that's a whole other Florida man story. But, we did the run, but then I was kind of like, all right, I really don't think this is for me. I want to help Ukraine, but driving a van around, one, it's expensive, and I didn't have a volunteer base to support my gas for it. And I was like, oh, almost like $500. That was a good bit of driving. I mean, that was 16 hours one way, 16 hours back. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to really age my van out really quick in a country that does not have good roads. And so the vision, like I said, the first vision I had, I literally made my van made to load a bunch of stuff on it so I can take it places, drop stuff off, and then come back somewhere and sleep in my van, after I do the drop off. And then I realized I don't want to do that in Ukraine. Doesn't mean I don't want to not help Ukraine, but I don't want to do that in Ukraine. I was like, oh my gosh. But then, I went to the Forge, and this is like the important thing sometimes, that it's a weird balance when it comes to vision. Yet again, I'm talking to younger people. It's important to know when to change your vision or when to let go of a vision. That's a really important thing. Sometimes there's stubbornness, and sometimes there's like just being flexible, and sometimes there's being too flexible. I'm usually guilty of being too flexible, if I'm going to be honest about myself. I call it adaptable, but sometimes I'm too adaptable to a bad situation. All right, my ex will agree to that. I am okay with just letting things get bad, and I just adapt to it, to the point where it's a detriment, where I should be making forceful changes to try to adapt the situation more to my wanting than me accommodating to the changing situation. Like here in Ukraine right now, we got power outages. Guess what? Can I fucking do anything about that? I mean, I could get a generator, but I'm in an Airbnb right now. Am I going to call the guy, the Airbnb guy, and say, hey, give me a generator so I can have power at my place right now? What? No. But for my own place, like I said, that was one of the issues I talked about in my last video. Do I want to install a burner, or do I want to get a generator for that? Or do I just want to adapt to it being cold and being dark half the time? That's one of the things I'm kind of, that's one of the things still I'm working on. Maybe I'm too soft, but then sometimes I think that's why I'm really good at like just going to a country and just rolling with it. Whatever they do, I'm like, all right, let's do it. That's another video. Oh, Ukrainians learning how to adapt to just working with Ukrainians. They have their certain way, and it's very different at times, and it can be very stressful unless you know how to adapt to it. But yeah, vision, going back to vision. So it's important to know when to change your vision. And maybe it's kind of good maybe to have a broad vision at first, because sometimes we want to have very detailed vision. And like I said, we kind of build up the vision over time. We build up more details. We know exactly what we want to do. We get a really focused idea of what we want things to be. But, we live in a world. I mean, we don't control the world. We're not, oh man, my English is getting so bad. We're not God. I'll use that phrase instead. We're not God. We don't control everything. And going back, I think that was my biggest issue when I was a caregiver with my mom. My mom, she liked to control things, and she had ALS, ALS is like the most humbling disease anyone could ever fucking get in their life. If you wanted to feel out of control of your own life and to learn that, you know, you do not control things in this universe, ALS is the ultimate like smackdown. Guess what? You're going to need to accept that you're going to need to change and you're going to have to accept how things are. And I mean, that was like, it was almost like a Greek tragedy in the sense of like how she got that disease. That was the disease that she had to deal with. That was the undoing of her, which was that she liked to have things her way. But oh my gosh, that disease showed you've lost all control. So maybe I have trauma from that, and from my understanding of living with ALS, it's like, you know, Ben, you really don't have control most of the time. But that's getting a little sidetracked from the vision idea. But it kind of goes back into vision, like having control of the vision, maybe changing your vision, being adaptable to your vision. So coming to Ukraine, and I think that's why it's good to have a broad vision, have a broad idea of what you want to do, and then figure out the detailed ways later about how to reach that vision. Don't try to make an intricate plan with a detailed plan of how everything's going to work to reach your vision, but understand that you're going to need an open path to reach that vision. My best, this is a nerd example, my best way of explaining that is kind of like playing a roguelike, like Slay the Tower. You have multiple ways to reach the end. It's kind of just figuring out which way best suits you at the time to reach that end. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. But basically, you have a goal in mind, and it's almost like find the way of least resistance to that goal in that sense. Or maybe you have a really idea of what you want, and you keep trying this way, but there's so much resistance. There's people, there's all these problems and obstacles, and sometimes, yeah, you do need determination, but maybe you have to say, all right, this isn't the way of me reaching that goal. Maybe I need to let back and find another way of reaching that goal. That's what way of less resistance. But yeah, sometimes you gotta be fucking stubborn. I mean, yeah, it's hard. So how does that go back to now? So basically, yeah, my time in Ukraine, working at the forge, helping the forge. It was good to know that I got to do something that helped the country. But at the end of the day, I was kind of like, all right, Ben, you're bending staples. You know, this is field labor. You know, there's nothing special. You know, I went to college. I've learned Chinese. I've lived a long life. I've developed an adaptability, an ability to do stuff. And honestly, as it culminated into me just bending staples. Am I going to spend my, mid-30s bending staples? Is it good work? Yes. Can I do more? I believe so. And so I was getting a little frustrated about just bending staples. Still, it's probably one of the most important things I've done in my life. But yeah, the vision. So what do I do to help more? And it's kind of weird because I kind of like fulfilled my vision at one point. I bent staples. People got interested in me bending staples. People started doing interviews with me, and I started talking to them. I was like, yeah, I live in Ukraine. I bend staples. I make drones on the side. I do some other random stuff whenever I can, whatever I could do to keep helping people. And then I got kind of popular. Like other people started reaching out, like, in Lviv, some people were like, hey, you're that famous guy from Vinnytsia. I was like, oh, what? All right. Yeah, sure, if you say so. But yeah, in a way, I was kind of like, all right, mission accomplished. I achieved the vision. I came to Ukraine. I did good. I helped people. The Forge is now being helped. And thank you everyone here that's still watching this video. I mean, I helped put you in contact with the Forge. I helped you guys find a way to put your money to good use to help Ukraine. And that was like my vision. That was my vision. I found it. I did it. And then I was kind of like, well, shit, what do I do next? And that's where, like, I didn't have a vision. And like, that's kind of depressing to me when I don't have the vision. What do I do? So yeah, I kind of meandered a bit, wandering a bit, and like, all right, what do I want to do next? Luckily, I met some good people, and they put me in the right contact. And it was kind of like the double down or nothing sort of thing. I was like, well, Ben, you're here. You got people now. You have the capital. Do you double down, and do you try to make something really out of this? Do you try to do more? I was like, all right, yeah, let's do more. But then yet again, like, I didn't have a proper vision of like, all right, I do more, but what is more? What is more to me right now? I didn't have that I'm going to be honest with you guys, like last month, the month before, I love the support. I loved being able to help. I loved, I was like, all right, this is great. But like, there was like a nagging part of me is like, all right, Ben, but like, what's the goal? Like, how are we going to go through with this? What do you want to try to accomplish? And I hate to say, like, a part of me, this is another Ukraine side. My time in Venetia, my time at the Forge, my time, because when I first got to the Forge, I had a lot of ideas. I was like, oh, let's try to do this. Let's try to do this. Like I said, like I wanted to make Venetia a new volunteer place for foreigners to come, and I can be like a guy who can help facilitate people finding better, more meaningful purposes here in Ukraine to do good work. But, you know, resistance. I had resistance, either just the opportunities weren't there, or people are like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, this or that. And it's kind of like Soviet mindset, the idea of like they're very resistant to big changes and that sort of stuff. You really have to kind of like lead them into it. So I had a lot of resistance, and eventually I just wore myself down. I was like, all right, no point in, beating yourself up or stressing yourself out of trying to get people to do stuff that they have no intention to wanting to do. But yeah, so I'm in, almost said it again. I am in another city. I had some meetings today, and while I was here, like the vision came. It's going to come out of nowhere almost sometimes, because like there's a desire for it, but like the more detailed vision has arrived, and it feels really good. It feels really good when the vision starts to take better shape again, and you see another pathway to a better vision of what you want to do in Ukraine. And it has happened here, and that's why I'm making this video, because I kind of had like an epiphany. I met some good people, and I was like, these people can help me reach my vision. And maybe I'll only finish this before I go into vision and leadership. But yeah, thank you for sticking around. If anyone's still around, man, this is a real ramble. But yeah, talking about vision, just the vision's back. I have a vision. I have an idea now, and things are going to be great. Well, I hate to say things aren't great here, but I'm great in the sense of I know what I want to do. I have a clear idea. And now let's go into leadership. That's like one of the most important things I would say about leadership is the idea of vision, having a clear, strong vision which other people can grasp to. At some point, sometimes I remember I did an interview and I had vision then. I had an idea and I communicated the idea during that interview. And someone saw that interview and they really liked it, because I made very clear like why I was in Ukraine, why I was doing this, and my vision at the time. And later on, it was maybe 2 months later, I was starting to get a little fatigued, burned out, and a little jaded. And they called me and they said, hey, I saw your interview and I'm really stoked and I want to help you. I want to help you get your vision. And that was like the new pathway again. And then that kind of helped me reinvigorate myself to get to where I wanted to go. And like again said, you need other people to help you. Leadership is a really important skill when you have vision. And I've started talking to some people now who lead organizations that lead other people now. You need to have a vision of what you want. You can't just manage. Managing is just keeping a status quo of someone else's vision. Vision is what allows you to kind of take charge, take the reins. And it's important to be able to communicate your vision to other people that inspires them to want to help you reach their vision. Because a lot of times, a lot of us are just jaded, and that's what happens. We all have visions. I think that's what we call getting older, is that you have visions and then you get resistance, and then you kind of stop fighting the resistance. But then maybe someone else has a vision and they offer a pathway from which you can leech onto. You can get closer to your old vision through that person's vision. And so that's what you grab to, and you trust in that person's and their determination and strength, and you give them your abilities and your skills to help reach a vision. Maybe it's not exactly your vision, but it's closer to the vision that you did have. So yeah, to me, that's kind of leadership in a way, is defining leadership against management. And of course, there's a lot of technical skills when it comes to good leadership. It's a whole other video. But a key determination about getting people to join you, to help you, is to have good vision. Like I said, one of the reasons why I'm in this city is because I'm now like a director of a program that helps orphans. I like orphans. I have no problem helping orphans. This pays my bills. I'm happy. You know, there are far worse jobs I could have had to pay the bills. They're not big bills, but hey, you know, it's a good cause. I like it, and it's like I did not have this vision. Of course, I'm not. I'm completely fine helping Ukrainians. My main thing is to help them win the war first. But this man came to me. He had a very strong vision. He showed me who he was helping, how he's helping them, and how I could help him help them. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So now I'm helping him create his vision. I'm helping him get a bigger grasp. You know, he does the fundraising. I'm the guy on the ground that does the hard work. Oh, he does hard work. I'm just the guy that oversees. You know, I just get the people to join in on the vision, and I oversee it, and I make sure the time works out and everyone gets paid. That's my primary role, pretty much, and responsibility, I guess. But yeah, you know, that wasn't my vision. I didn't have that vision, but he has this vision. He is so determined on this vision, and I don't want to get into like technical this, but in the sense of like, you know, you can have the vision, but you can lack the skill or like the actual know-how. But when you get the vision, you can have people with that technical skill join you in, and they can help provide those missing components. Maybe you bring in the capital. Like I said, this guy, he brought in the capital. He did the fundraising, you know. Would I want to spend all my time raising money for these kids? I was like, oh, dude, that's not my skill set. You know, money raising is not my skill set. I am a guy who has no problem organizing, following through, executing, try to do something like that. But me going around shaking hands, kissing babies, it's not my preliminary skill set. So that's his skill set, and he did it, and he found me, and we talked, and you know, I feel happy afterwards. You know, we got a bunch of gifts for kids. I probably won't get to see the kids with the gifts, but I know at my place when I go there and I bring them toys and stuff, they're always happy, and we teach them some English. They are starved for attention. Honestly, it's a sobering thing, but. Yeah, he had the vision, and so I'm helping him with his vision, and it kind of reignites my own vision. Like, all right, Ben, honestly, you don't need to know everything. If you have determination, like sometimes I hate to say I don't want to get into U.S. politics with this. I kind of like Trump. Like Trump's just he has the vision, like, or you can sell people on a vision. That guy can sell people on a vision. That's it. Like he has a vision. Kamala Harris had no vision. All right, we all say like, what is Kamala Harris America actually going to look like? No one has no freaking idea. No one has no idea what she wanted to be like. Maybe she did, but did she communicate it well? Did we buy into her vision? Trump can sell his vision like no one else. I think that's the biggest thing. And everyone has a different version of Trump's vision, but Trump has a very strong vision. And a lot of people buy into that. He has the power and will to see it through, that his vision will be implemented. Scary or not, I'm not going to talk about that, but that man could sell a vision. So this is, I thought this video was going to be really short, but there you go. There's a 38-minute ramble about vision, importance of vision. Me and Ukraine, how important it was for me to have. If I didn't have vision, that's one of the things. Last bit. Yeah, I mean, let's say like the past quarter of the year beforehand, you know, I looked at myself like, you know, Ben, if you were back now, if you had the same motivation and everything you were when you first came to Ukraine, if I was in my garage in the US building my van out to go to Ukraine at that time, and I had the same motivations that I did while I was in Ukraine at that time, I'd be like, no, I would not be here. I would have fucking peaced out. I'd be playing video games on my computer. I would not have come here. The determination, the vision was not as strong afterwards. But yeah, the vision at the beginning did get me here. And then from there, I learned to accept realities, limitations, and I adapted. I modified my vision, and I let it grow when the possibilities grow now. And so I have some ideas now, and I'm going to follow through with them. So that's Florida Man, guys. Thank you for sticking around. Florida Man wisdom, and I'll talk to you guys later. Florida Man out.